Good evening. I'd like to call the November 18th, 2025 meeting of the North Bend City Council to order. Will the clerk please call roll?
Mayor Pro Tem Mark Jocelyn,
Present.
Councilmember Brendan Elwood,
Present.
Councilmember Alan Godhelf,
Present.
Councilmember Heather Cullen,
Present.
Councilmember Christina Rustic,
Present.
Councilmember Susan Torgerson,
Here.
and Councilmember Errol Tremolata.
Present.
All are present, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Will the clerk please lead us in the flag salute?
Please the flag of the United States of America. To the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see some wonderful faces in the crowd and online. I don't know how many we have, but hello to you all online. Before I move on, we have item number 10, a motion authorizing lease with the Department of Fish and Wildlife for the CED Annex Building. It will be pulled from tonight's agenda. Okay, before we move on to consent agenda, I would like to announce that the agenda will be modified to add a presentation on the mid-biennium budget review and modification directly after audience participation. We'll move on now to consent agenda. We have 7 items on our consent agenda. Can I get a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Okay, motion by Mr. Gottoff and second by Mr. Brendan Elwood. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That does pass unanimously. Thank you very much. Before we move on to audience participation, as indicated on tonight's agenda, if you're attending remotely and would like to submit public comment, please submit your written comments via in-person drop-off, mail, fax, or email to clerks@northbendwa.gov by 5 p.m. on the day of the meeting. We're no longer taking public comments for those attending remotely via Zoom unless they have reached out to our city clerk in advance of the meeting to request accommodation. We'll move on now to audience participation. Since we are no longer taking public comment after every item on the main agenda, now would be the time to come forward to the podium to comment on agenda items that are, or any other item that you would like to speak about. If you are here to speak regarding AB 25-127 ordinance setting.
Mayor, that's not on the agenda.
Oh,
No.
I got so happy about that. Okay, we're cutting that. Excuse me, everybody. If you've requested accommodation with the city clerk and wish to speak through the virtual platform, please raise your hand and we'll take your comments after in-person comments. Please remember to state your name, your address, and you have 3 minutes for the record to speak. Anybody wish to speak to us tonight? We're all ears. Hi, Robin. Welcome.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Thank you for serving our city. I'm Robin Balcom. I live at 246 O'Lally Place, just over by Torgerson Park, and we have a mortgage. I would say we own our home, but I don't think we're ever really going to own it. And we have a small business here in North Bend. And I'm a little confused when you said about we are going to be having the review of the I know it's a weird word to me, biennium.
Biennium?
Yeah, I just kind of say mid-year budget. It's when in common English. So we are going to have that tonight. Do I understand that correctly, or it has been taken off? It is going to happen. Good. Well, that is the subject that I wanted to just let you hear from me. A few months ago, about 4 or 5 months ago, our house payment went up $400 a month. And I'll say my husband owns a small business. It's Distinctive Dentures right there on the loop at QFC. That's been our worst business year. And we've struggled. We've struggled to make end meets. And so when I saw $400 added to our house payment, my hair about caught on fire. And I called, of course, I called the mortgage company and they said, oh, it's because you have a significant shortfall in your escrow because of your taxes and your insurance have both gone up. And I was just like, help me. And I know we get those cards every year where it's like, oh, your assessed taxable value on your home is now way up here, which I know is not realistic. It just gets me taxed more. But I know I've been here for several meetings when we've been talking about the police transition and we've talked about a lot of things. And I know I was here, I think the first time I came here, there was a guy who spoke about the budget. And I got up and just basically said, that was completely a different language to me. I'm begging you, don't raise my taxes. That's all I kind of came with because I didn't understand it. Since that time, because of the squeeze on our personal household budget, I have started looking into the numbers and going, okay, if I don't say something, if I don't look at this, then I'm part of the problem. And so what I am hoping to hear tonight when you do the budget review is that I want to hear where the cuts are. I am very involved in Washington state politics, and I go down and speak at sessions, and I let my voice be heard. I realize I've got to do it here too, just as much, because of it's becoming unaffordable here in North Bend. And so, I don't necessarily want to move, but there's a lot more affordable places, and it's only getting worse what's coming down from Olympia. And I just want to know if you can be sure when you're presenting that budget review, I'd love to hear where we're cutting, not increases, because it's not a income problem. I don't think it's a tax problem that we're not getting enough taxes. I think it's a spending problem. And that's what, if you ever watch legislation in Olympia, you're going to hear me saying that a lot, because I'm concerned about the unaffordability of our state and now the unaffordability of our city too. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin. Anybody else from the community wish to come and speak today? Anybody online, Phil?
Not at this time.
Thank you very much. Give it one quick second. All right, let's move on to announcements, presentations, and appointments then. Let's go with our presentation for the mid-biennium budget review and modification. Mr. Cha, would you please be able to provide that report for us tonight? And thank you.
Mayor, I'm going to share my screen. Give me a second here. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Mayor. For the record, Martin Cha, Finance Director, City of North Bend. A copy of this presentation with this one slide is should be on your dais. I think Susie handed those out. The purpose of this presentation is to go over our city's mid-biennial budget review process, as well as the mid-biennial budget modification process. There's an accompanying staff memorandum. I'll go over that in a moment. But in terms of our mid-biennial budget review, as you all know, this is a requirement under RCW for all cities that operate with under a biennial budgeting process. And there's a certain timeline that's required in terms of a presentation of the status of the city's finances through the first 12 months of the biennial cycle. And as you recall, on October 12th of this year, staff presented a mid-biennial budget review to the council, and that satisfied that portion of the RCW requirement. In terms of the mid-biennial budget modification, our budget modification process, whether it's mid-bi or during the course of the year, follows the same process. And that is, number one, if staff feels a need to bring a modification to council in order to modify the budget for either unanticipated revenues or additional spending authority, we do that. And as you know, we've brought forward 2 budget amendments so far for the 25-26 budget earlier this year. Now, for the mid-biennial budget modification for where we're at in this point in time, the additional spending authority that we see is not needed, and there's 2 reasons for that. So, for the mid-biennial budget modification, as I discussed with council, there are 2 impending needs. The first one is the modification to the Police Services Department budget under our transition to the King County Sheriff's Office for policing services. And for that, we're awaiting the final executed ILA to come from King County. So for that reason, we're not recommending a budget modification to the police services budget at this time. We would rather wait until we have the ILA, understand what it is that they're requiring of the city, and then we'll bring forward a budget modification concurrent with the council's approval of the ILA. And we're expecting that to occur in early 2026, hopefully in January. The second modification is to the 2026 salary schedule. And the reason why we're suggesting that that not be taken, that action on that is not taken now is that we have an outstanding contract with the clerical union. The bargaining is currently outstanding. We're not expecting that to be completed before the end of the year. So for that reason, we'd like to take the amendment to the or the modification or memorialization of the 2026 salary schedule all at the same time once that labor agreement is consummated. Now, I've been asked a couple of questions. So number one is, do we need a public hearing? And we heard from Robin just now about that public hearing. We can certainly conduct a public hearing on that, Mayor. We're at the second meeting in November. We can certainly schedule that for the first meeting in December. That's no problem for staff. And for that meeting, I can publicly go through the thought process as to what's being anticipated for modification and what we're recommending in terms of the changes to the budget for the police services budget, as well as for the memorializing the 2026 salary schedule. So that's number one, Mayor. So we can certainly do that. Number two, I've been also asked about the 2026 salary schedule itself. And do we need to take action on that before the end of the year? And if council so desires, and Councilwoman Torgerson, you've asked me this specifically, if council so desires, we can certainly do that. What I would propose is we bring that forward to council in several very discrete chunks, and this would follow best practices that's employed by other cities. And that is when we think about our workforce and our payroll, we have several distinct buckets here. We have the pay schedule for the Public Works Union, whose pay is established through labor negotiations through the end of 2026. We have the pay schedule for the Clerical Union, whose contract expires at the end of this year. And as I mentioned earlier, negotiations for that is ongoing. We have the pay schedule for non-represented employees. And then we have the pay schedule for the directors as well as the city administrator. And how other cities bring forward the salary schedule, Councilwoman Torgerson, is those are brought forward as separate actions, as separate ordinances. This is what I experienced when I worked for Redmond, Bellevue, Auburn, and what, for example, Redmond does is there's a separate ordinance to bring forward the updated salary schedule for each union. So in the case of Redmond, they have 10 different unions, so there are 10 different ordinances. And then we would repeat that process for the non-reps as well as for the directors and the city administrator. So at the end of my presentation, I can certainly entertain that, and if that's something that council desires, I can we can make it happen, and we can make that happen as soon as December 2nd. But if I can turn your attention back to the presentation, again, I went over the speaking points here on the memorandum. I mean, on the slide. I do want to go over with you the process for which what triggers a budget modification. This is explained in my memorandum. And again, this should be in your dais. So on page 1, first paragraph where the first section discusses the mid-biennial budget review process. Again, we satisfied that requirement under state law with the presentation on October 14th. The second part of the discussion is what triggers a budget modification. And the tests here would be uniform, whether it's for a mid-biennial review or whether it's for a non mid-biennial review process. So for example, our budget amendments numbers 1 and 2 that I brought forward to the City Council earlier this year. So at the bottom of page 1, I laid out several examples of what could trigger a budget amendment. The first one is if the city receives an unanticipated revenue. So for example, a grant, for example, and we need the spending authority to spend those resources received from the grant. The second example is if the city enters into a executed contract for which payment is expected in the coming year or in the current biennium. And then the third one is, and just as we discussed about the outstanding clerical union negotiations, is if the city enters into a negotiated labor contract with one of its unions, and we need additional resources to pay those employees, then that would also trigger a budget amendment. If you flip the page to page 2, I tried to provide some concrete examples to illustrate this process. So, for example, bullet number 1, the city receives an unanticipated grant of $500,000 for a particular capital project. However, for the city's CIP program of $3 million, we're expecting to spend only $2.5 million. So in other words, our spending authority is established at $3 million. We're expecting to spend $2.5 million on existing projects. So therefore, the additional $500,000 in grant for an unanticipated project has been received. We can absorb that within existing spending authority. So in that case, the test is not met and specific spending authority does not need to occur. The second example is if a city enters into a contract. So in this case, I use the public safety services as an example. So in this case, the budget for the public safety program is for the new contract is short by $583,000. And the city is expecting to offset a portion of that through operational savings. So therefore, the difference would need to be made up from use of fund balance. So in this case, the spending authority, i.e. that's the budget for the police department, the spending authority would be violated unless additional spending authority is granted to the police services budget. So in this case, because the city is offering $425,000 in operational savings, that addresses about 3/4 of the $583,000. The remaining would be a budget amendment that we would bring forward to move $158,000 from fund balance to the police services spending authority, thereby increasing it so that it stays within budget. The last example is on labor negotiations. And again, as I mentioned, we're negotiating with one of our two employee labor groups. And for the 25-26 budget, we included a 3.6% cost of living adjustment for both years in 25 and 26. Preliminary discussions with the labor union is that we're looking at about a 2.7% cost of living adjustment. And the 2.7% is pegged to the Consumer Price Index for wage earners in the Seattle metropolitan area. So the 2.7% is within the 3.6% that was budgeted. So in this case, a budget amendment is not required because the adjustment is within the budget that's been approved. So anyway, I want to go over that process with you, Council. Again, just going back to my earlier comments regarding a request for public hearing. If the council so chooses, we can certainly schedule that for December 2nd, and staff can be prepared to facilitate that. And then number two, if council wishes to establish or memorialize the salary schedule for, again, the Public Works Union non-represented employees, as well as the directors and the city administrator, we can facilitate those as well. Again, using the that ordinance process that I mentioned, that the city of Redmond utilizes.
Madam Mayor, if I can add one thing to Martin's piece and just a clarification point. So the public hearing that we're offering to council, if council so desires, on December 2nd is to discuss at that public hearing that we don't need a modification. So it would really just be a public hearing to memorialize what Martin is presenting, that we do not need a modification. So if that's what we would like to do, we can definitely facilitate that for this December 2nd if council so desires.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Martin.
Great. That concludes my remarks. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them now. Otherwise, I'll step back.
Thank you, Martin. Do we have any? Oh, who went first? Okay, Susan.
Yeah, I had a question about the budget regarding salaries, and that when you created the budget, you inflated it by
3.6%.
Okay, so what happens when you don't need the 3.6? Do you reduce that budget number because you now have a new number? Because instead of 3.6, it's 2.7.
Yep. So we can take two approaches on that, Councilman Torgerson. Is number one is the payroll will spend only up to what's been authorized for the labor agreement, right? So if council authorizes, for example, or we memorialize a salary schedule that increases salaries for 2026 up to 2.7%, that differential, that 0.9 or that 0.9% can either stay in the line item, it won't be spent, or we physically move it into reserves. Now, if we leave it in the line items and we don't spend it, it's going to fall down into reserves anyway at the end of the year. So
Which reserves is that? Is that the general fund reserve?
General fund reserves for Fund 001.
Once it does that mean it's available to be used?
It's available to be rebudgeted in the 27-28 biennial budget.
Mayor, can I add something real quick before we move on to certain person? I just want to caution us talking about anything bargaining or anything open, because we have an open contract. So if we're talking about any salaries with the bargaining unit, I just want to caution us not to do that, since we have an open contract that we are currently negotiating. So I just wanted to put that caveat out there before we go into other dialogue.
Thank you for that clarification, Ms. Emery. Okay, Ms. Krustic.
Yes, thank you. I think my question is similar to Councilmember Torgerson's. What you're summarizing is that if we overspend, then we would need the public hearing. But if we underspend, I'm just making sure I am clear, we underspend, then the money goes into reserves to be used in 2027, 2028 biennium.
Right. Yes. And if I can clarify that, Councilwoman Rustic, if we overspend on a specific line, so long as we stay within the authorized spending authority overall for the fund, then we're fine. It would be no different than, for example, in the finance department, if we needed to, as you know, we had to contract with Clark Nuber for auditing services. And we overspent our professional services line item, but that overspending stayed within our overall spending authority for the general fund. So no budget amendment is necessary. And to the extent that the fund as a whole underspends, that differential, that marginal underspending, if you will, that would fall to the fund balance for rebudgeting in the next biennium.
Thank you.
Any other
Councilmember
question?
Rustic, can I add just one thing before we go to next is the other guardrails that are on our procurement rules that we have set forth is that and our contract rules. So the contracts coming to council. So Martin has that laid out perfectly, but that is another 2 guardrails that exist with the spending authority element as well. So I just wanted to add that to your question.
Okay, I saw some hands go up. Who was first? Mr. Gottoff.
So we've been talking for a period of about 3 to 6 months about increased costs from police and savings that we're going to have. Would we not want to memorialize those savings that have been discussed with the council before
absolutely.
the end of the year in order to ensure that those savings are put in there? And I think that's also been a concern because there's a lot of, we've talked about it. There's not anywhere we believe all of a sudden we've got spending authority within the administration, and confusion is where we're getting that when we've said this is where the savings. And I think there's some concern that we haven't memorialized those that have come before the council in this year's and should be memorialized for the new biennium.
Yes, and I can answer that. The answer to that question, Councilman, is yes. Those budget cuts, and again, this is partly answers Robin's question as well. For the budget adjustment that we're seeking for the police services budget, the 583,000, the 425,000 of that is being offset with operational line item savings. Those line item savings, Councilman, will be pulled out of the specific line items throughout the general fund and then moved into the police services budget. And I already have that lined up. What we're waiting on is the ILA from King County. And then once the ILA is executed, we'll execute the budget amendment at the same meeting. And once we have the budget amendment authorized, then we will make the necessary changes to our spending, to our budget, to our individual line items to reflect those changes in the budget amendment.
You certainly can.
The money has never been identified as council ultimately, but we do know there was talk about based upon a individual who has left us that we would have savings from that salary. Would that then be put in that biennium budget? And you were still assuming that that's something that's going to come after the year where this whole council is not sat during the whole, so there'd be new council people who didn't listen to the savings that were told to us.
Yeah. No, the savings that we discussed are coming from non-labor operational savings. If I understand your question correctly, the savings from labor on the labor negotiations, that would fall to the fund balance because that monies won't be spent.
I'm not sure how to present this because there was a conversation about an individual who has left this organization, and we said that there would be savings from his salary that would be used to save money in the budget. Is that not being memorialized?
I see what you're saying. Yes, those monies are being memorialized. The savings from the public works, the former public works director, right, departure from the city. As you recall, that individual had premium pay for two specialty type services experiences, right? I believe is a wetlands premium as well as a professional engineers premium. So those savings are then will be redirected, and they have been redirected towards the other directors. That's been changed. That's been modified.
I think that's where the council has an issue.
Well,
Because it was never, when it was told to us, it was savings towards identifying money for the budget and for the additional costs of our police services. And that's where
so that
I
was,
have a concern that we
Yeah.
haven't memorialized.
so that was the $11,000 that I just sent to council on an email. So that's the separate piece of this conversation. The other piece to that is holding the other position is the city engineer open to pay for the costs when a employee of that in their over 10 years departs to be able to pay for that. So that is being held open. The other piece that I think Martin to talk through about the 425 that we're bringing forward and operating expense reductions that we brought forward to the mayor for her consideration that will be bringing forward, that is memorialized at the same time that we have the ILA so that that line item can be moved to directly through when that's is considered and approved by council. And then that is memorialized in the same ordinance or the same budget amendment that we bring forward because that's paying directly for that police services line item.
Thank you, Amber. Oh, Heather.
First of all, I would appreciate it if you don't speak for all council and speak your own voice for yourself.
Point of order, but please direct all comments to the chair.
Chair. Secondly, my question is more simple. I think it will be easier for everybody. I'm wondering why we had a public hearing on our agenda and then we pulled it.
And I can answer that, Councilwoman Cullen. The reason why we pulled it was for two reasons. Number one, we don't have a executed ILA with King County. And you know me, I'm fairly conservative, so I would rather amend the budget when we have the ILA in hand. So that was number one. And then number two, the other portion of the budget amendment, Councilman Cullen, was establishing the 2026 or memorializing the 2026 salary schedule. And we can certainly do that and bring something forward on December 2nd. But those were the two reasons why the public hearing was that I had requested to be removed.
Mr. Tremolata.
Yeah, I have a question which may be more legally focused. So I know you've presented this as sort of council's purview, whether we want to have this hearing or not. But Kendra, could you, just for the betterment of the group and the public, could you inform council, is there any legal requirement in terms of like the state auditor's position and making sure the city is operating with the I's dotted and the T's crossed with regards to this public hearing? Is it required in any way if there is no modification proposed?
Thank you for the question. My analysis of the applicable RCW is that while it says the conjunctive review and modification, that follows the sentence where it says that the chief administrative officer, here the mayor, would be proposing a modification. So in looking at this, as the finance director has stated that there is no apparent need for the city council to hold a public hearing to consider essentially a non-event because there is no proposed modification. It's my opinion that we are complying with law. And I know the finance director has done his own review as well and has looked at other examples similar to the North Bend Municipal Code, which follows that when the mayor proposes a budget modification, that is the triggering event for the public hearing. And staff have confirmed tonight in the public meeting that there is no proposed modification for 2025 for the 2026 appropriations.
And Councilman Tremolata, I can attest to that, certainly with my experience with other cities. at the city of Redmond at the city of Redmond, for example, when we were managing the biennial budget for that city, we did go through a year, one biennium, potentially two, where we didn't have a need for a mid-biennial budget modification. We did have a mid-biennial budget review, similar to the presentation that I provided to you on the 12th of October. But if there was not a need for a modification, we didn't, there was no need to bring anything to council.
Thank you, Mr. Chow. Did I catch everybody? Oh, Ms. Torgerson. Sorry, Mr. Chow.
And Kendra, I believe is it ordinance 1823 or 8, I can't remember which one it was, where we did our budget last year. Do you remember which number that was? It was 18 something. In that ordinance, it specifically states that we need to do our 2025, we need to do in 2025, the modification to the salary schedule for 2026. It does not say that we can do it in 2026. Here's the scenario that we have voted in as council, the 2025 schedule. It's done in 2025. You don't move it forward into 26. That's why when you have your mid-biennium conversations or whatever you want to call it, you need to, in 2025, memorialize the 2026 salary schedule. And that needs to be done with council. It's not something that the staff just comes up with and says they're doing. I spoke with the MRSC, and the attorneys and the staff there basically said that the council is the legal authority on the salary schedule. We define the positions, we define the salaries, and by going in and changing the pay scales for all the directors, as you've done without any council direction or even a conversation saying you're doing it, you guys are just saying you're doing it. That's not okay. That's not your area. You're stepping out of bounds. The salary schedule is in the legal area, and I can cite the RCW. I have it right here because she sent it from me from the, here it is. RCW 35.11.20, and it says the legislative body of each, you don't have it, it's just mine. The legislative body of each code city shall have the power to organize, regulate its internal affairs with the provisions of this title and its charter, and to define the functions, powers, and duties of its officers, employees within the limitations imposed, vested rights to fix the compensation and working conditions such as officers, employees, establish and maintain all the benefits. It goes on and on and on, but that's in the legal body, the legislative body, which is council. So that's where it bothers me, that when you're saying you've decided to change in the 2026 salary schedule and you're not even going to do it till next year. So when you decided to change that, first, you can't do that. It needs to be, you need to be talking with council. You need buy-in from us. You need to make your argument. We'll decide whether or not we agree with that or not, and we'll give you the direction on that. We want your feedback, but you can't just railroad us and go and do it on your own. It's in RCWs. Okay, not on top of that, if we don't have a 2026 established before the end of the year, which is all of the RCWs say, when we were talking about you have to do it within a time frame, it says you have until December 31st, 2025 to get that completed. And you don't start any sooner than May. You go back 8 months. You don't start any sooner than May to do this whole process. And so if you don't have a 2026 done in 2025, then all the employees' salaries, they're not getting paid. Susie can't sign a check until we have that in place. So it needs to be done in 2025.
Your Honor.
Thank you.
A couple questions, Martin. Isn't it true that upon adopting the 2025-2026 biennium budget, we did in fact authorize the spending authority that Councilmember Torgerson is referencing? And in fact, we do not need to act as she is suggesting that we do. That's the advice we've been given by legal counsel, yourself, and the city administrator, I believe.
That's correct.
Thank you. My second question, that this notion that we are unable, you've mentioned previously in your presentation that during this past year, council has acted at least twice to make changes to the budget as we are authorized to do as need be. And again, as you are proposing, we do early next year, once we have a negotiated contract with the clerical union, and we also have an ILA with the King County Sheriff's Office, such that we will be working with real numbers going forward.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Me.
Thank you, Ms. Torgerson.
The legal basis is based on our own city ordinance where we state in there that we have to do it in the biennium modification, which is the time period that's stated by the RCW. If we don't have that in place and we don't say what that salary schedule is, you can't go outside of that. I'm just saying we need to get it done in 2025. We need to have that conversation. I don't want us to have some sort of audit and puts us in some sort of weird situation because we didn't follow our own ordinance.
Councilmember Torgerson, we already offered to bring that forward on December 2nd. I think that was in Martin's presentation. So I think this is honestly a moot point if we're bringing this forward on December 2nd, if that's what council desires.
That was not made aware to me.
That was what Martin just said in the presentation, that we offered to bring that forward in the December 2nd. That'll be separate. And what Martin represented to bring forward is we can do this cleanly without having the clerical union and is breaking these apart and bifurcating these. And then it will be brought forward in an ordinance so that we can adopt each one so that those are separated, because what we don't want to do is adopt a schedule that has the clerical union in it and set that. We've done that before in our city where we've set something ahead of time and then it didn't work out so well. So we want to make sure that we're mitigating risk in that way. So if that's something we would like to do and bring those separately, I'm happy to do that and take out the clerical union piece of that. What I also want to caution is when we start talking about specific people, specific directors, specific positions, that is something that I would recommend, Mayor, that we would go into executive session in that December 2nd conversation so that we're not having that in a public setting as highly inappropriate to do so.
Absolutely understood. Thank you very much for that.
You're welcome.
Brendan, thank you.
So if I'm tracking correctly, we need to vote tonight or to approve for the December 2nd offer, right? Because that's not locked. It's just a suggestion, correct? And in that, we can also lock an executive session where we can discuss specific salary schedule questions and concerns. Because I share some concern where,
Sure.
generally speaking, we were talking about reserving funds from roles for next year. And I understand and respect the administration's authority to allocate,
Sure.
merits and stuff like that. It's just a surprise thing.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where, as long as there's no more of these surprises coming, thing one, which I think is where the memorialization conversation is
Right.
really having a good effect
Yeah.
here. But is that a correct
Yes.
assessment?
So we have, go ahead.
If I may, my belief is we don't need to take a vote in order to have a public hearing on the 2nd. We simply have it within our power to add that to the agenda on the 2nd. That doesn't require an official
That's
action.
exactly what I was clarifying is what our procedural
Exactly.
process is for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just that we will go forward with that plan, separating the mid-biennium if we want to do an again, the mid-biennium modification hearing, if we're going to conduct that on the 2nd, is not required and there's no action in it. So that's one. So that's a separate. The salary schedule, and we're going to be changing it to compensation salary because salaries for hourly is not the same applicable thing. So we need to separate those out. So, and I've said this to many of you this week, and I don't want to belabor this point, but as we clean up and get things situated, as we find things, Martin and I have worked in numerous jurisdictions we've done things differently. We'll bring those conversations forward to council. So we're happy to pull those apart, have that conversation. I just want to make sure we're doing it in the appropriate channels so that we are not putting ourselves at risk.
Thank you, Ms. Emery. Yeah. Okay, are we all ready to move on?
I know, actually, I have a few more comments to make.
Okay.
So I was fairly concerned about the fact that the public hearing was canceled because I know, I like things to be done in process and legally correct. And that was just a very quick decision within a matter of a week. And so I'll just say that my intention tonight, when I didn't even know you're going to do a budget review, that wasn't, obviously it's not an agenda, so I didn't know about that. I had talked to multiple entities, and one of them was the Municipal Research Service Center, which is basically an organization that helps out for free elected officials to be able to find out information on how do we do things correctly. And so in that process, they said, well, since your city is not offering to help reduce the budget because we know we have a $9.1 million budget deficit coming down the road, you as council, your legislative body has every right to pass a motion and ask for a reduction. And so, and then I also was based off we've had some new conversations here, but it was based off of the fact that last week we were told that we weren't going to do the salary schedule until 2026. And that's me wanting to make sure our city's doing everything correctly. So I put together 2 motions for this evening. And before I wanted to share what those motions are, I want to explain to how I arrived to the point of getting here. So let me begin by saying that I've invested countless hours researching and learning about this budget process to ensure that as a council member, I make the most informed decision for our city and for our residents. I asked many questions, reviewed documents from city websites. I looked at our city website. I've looked at other websites as well. I've built spreadsheets to compare year to year so I can fully understand how everything fits together. It's about me learning about how this process works, right? So the decision to cancel the public hearing scheduled for today, I felt was unprecedented. No one I know knows that's happened here at the city of North Bend. And North Bend's never has skipped the biennial review since adopting the biennial budget format in 2014. State law governs how these reviews must be conducted. And when I reached out to MRSC for guidance, their attorney consultants stated that they've never seen it at a public hearing for a mid-biennial budget review canceled in any city either. Last Wednesday, November 12th, was our Finance and Administration Committee meeting. It was scheduled to review the proposed salary schedule that was on our list, that was last Wednesday. I looked at that in preparation for our committee. I took that down and I put it into an Excel spreadsheet, and I was trying to understand the salary schedule for 2025 versus 26. And then I had some questions, so I asked for clarification from staff. Those questions led to an hour and a half about meeting on Monday, November 10th, with the city administrator and finance director. I invited Councilmember Rustick to participate as the other 2 committee members had work commitments and couldn't make it. During that meeting, I raised concerns that the state law specifically stated the RCWs outlining the council's authority when it comes to the salary schedule. And it appeared that there was a misunderstanding between council's legal role and setting the salary schedule, as well as other issues about that salary schedule. And so I recommended that the city seek legal counsel for further clarification in these requirements. On the morning of the Finance Committee meeting, with the 2026 salary schedule was off the agenda now. So from a very short period of time, it was on and it was off. In the follow-up memo that was sent on Monday's meeting, which was emailed to the full council, the salary schedule was listed to be deferred to the 2026 council meeting. That's the thing that alarms me. Later that same day, before the Finance and Administration Committee meeting, a resident contacted me to ask why the public hearing for the mid-biennial review had been canceled on November 18th. That was the call. That call was the first notification I received that the public hearing had been removed from the schedule. Last Thursday, November 13th, I emailed Mayor Miller asking for the legally required public hearing for the mid-biennial review to be returned to the city council meeting schedule because state law requires this hearing. And I also noted that the 26 salary schedule, which is part of the budget review process, must be adopted in 25. I did not receive a phone call or email from the mayor acknowledging my concern, nor any indication that the matter would be reviewed. On Friday, November 14th, about 5 p.m., council received a memo asserting that a mid-biennial budget review would only be necessary to authorize additional spending, whether from unanticipated revenue, or unforeseen operating expense. My thoughts are that the creation of 2 police contracts in 2025 was unforeseen operating expense, and the final costs of the transition to a different service provider and the successive contracts going forward for the following year and the years after that, all contributing to our projected $9.1 million deficit, represent newly emerging operating costs, and the specifics of which were not finalized until mid to late 2025. So hearing that the mayor was saying there was no adjustments that would be proposed in the 2026 budget, and learning that at the finance committee meeting, the administrator had unilaterally edited the salary schedule with plans for council's approval in 26, set off alarm bells for me. First, it's the council's authority that edits the salary schedule, and not approving the 26 schedule. My concern is those paychecks would not be able to be done until that salary schedule was completed. These actions are inconsistent with legal and procedural requirements I've researched, and ignoring state and local government standards is just not in best interest of our city's long-term financial health. Postponing necessary action on our budget crisis does not protect the long-term interests of North Bend citizens. By the way, the Municipal Research and Services Center consultants shared with me that every city that placed a levy lid lift on the ballot in 2025 saw it fail. So if raising property taxes is presented as the only solution to our budget problem, we as voters are unlikely to approve it. We know that voters are unlikely to approve it. So my question would be, how are we planning to pay the bills? It seems like the logical choice is to start reducing the budget now going forward. And so that led me to want to introduce a motion to City Council. I can get the piece of paper over here. Come here. Okay. To direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance with staff to recall $600,000 from the 2026 appropriations budget within the general fund, and to redirect that spending authority for police services in 2027. I believe doing that would really help us out going forward and help reducing the deficit and relieving some stress. Do I have a second?
Is there a second?
I'll second it so we can discuss it.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Torgerson, second by Mr. Gottel. Anybody want to speak to it? Want to speak further?
I'll speak to it.
Okay.
So council members, tonight I'm making a motion to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance to reduce the 2026 general fund appropriations by $600,000 and have those funds go towards the 2027 police contract expense. Before making the motion, I want to explain why this action is not only reasonable, but it's necessary. As council members, we are responsible for adopting the city's budget and safeguarding its long-term financial health. We are the legislative body. We hold the authority, what has often been called the power of the purse. After months of research, work studies, meeting with MRSC, consulting with finance professionals, and detailed review of our long-term financial model, it's clear that delaying the corrective action is no longer an option. Why this motion is necessary. At early work studies, we were verbally told that the mayor identified $425,000 of potential reductions, but that was never put in writing. We were also informed of a general reserve adjustment of about $158,000, which was not actually a reserve. It was just money that was in the general fund, because there's also a rainy day reserve fund. There's two different accounts. Adding that together, the gap is about $583,000, which I rounded up to $600,000 for ease and clarity when drafting a reduction proposal. During the Finance and Administration Committee meeting, staff recommended a 0.5 levy lift and a 0.1 criminal justice sales tax increase. The only solutions presented were tax increases. Council stated repeatedly that raising taxes must be the last resort, not the first. Yet we received no option from administration for reducing spending without increasing taxes. At the same time, when staff updated the 5-year forecast incorporating new police service contracts, the fiscal picture is starting to come clear. In 2026, we have roughly a $600,000 deficit. King County Sheriff did pass saying that what they thought the numbers were, and we're waiting until January for them, the King County Council, to actually pass it in their meetings. And then when 2027 comes, we have a multi-million-dollar deficit. We have a $4.8 million bill just for King County Council to pay that bill. And the deficit continues cumulatively to a $9.1 million by the end of the forecast period. The deficit is not a mystery. We all know the deficit is coming. It is the predictable result of large unexpected cost increases combined with the delayed corrective action. We have been negotiating this year. We've had the lawsuit with Snoqualmie. We've had all these things, and now we finally have a better picture of what's going on. So why council must act? North Bend is legally required to correct its course in 2025. That's what we do with the mid-biennium review. The staff does not want to do it, but we as council members, because we are a legislative body, we can make a reduction. If we wait, we face a deeper, more disruptive cuts next year based on the projected trajectory. Maybe we're going to have to eliminate 5 full staff members. We don't want to do that. We don't want to. I don't think that's responsible governance. It's not fair to our employees or our residents. We also know that I said earlier how MRSC had said that every levy lid lift on the ballot placed was failed. So we cannot reasonably plan on a revenue tool that the public will not support, property tax increases. So the path forward, we have 2 choices. Make responsible adjustments now, reduce 2026 spending, or we could just delay action and let the deficit grow, forcing emergency level cuts in years ahead. That's going to be much more challenging for all of us. I think that the responsible path is clear. Council can reduce the budget with a majority vote. RCW assigns us the authority to do this, and it's our responsibility to use when it's needed. My hope has been the administration would provide reduction models or multiple options to close the gap in 2025. This did not occur. So we must rely on the best information that we have and act now to protect our city's financial stability. So I ask you for your support, council members.
Thank you. Mr. Gottoff, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I understand the concerns and continue to echo the concerns. This has been something I think we've been talking about for a while and wanting to memorialize it. And we have asked even our partners at Eastside Fire and Rescue to do the same thing, to sit down and take a look at what we can do to lower our costs. This has been going on since we started this budget process at the beginning of the year. And it seems like every time we've asked for it, it's been pushed off and not taken seriously. We don't, and again, I don't want to talk about, I've overstepped in trying to talk about, but things that were discussed in finance and other ways of where we're going to save money. It seems like there's a moving average or a moving amount of that money where it's going. It's never defined where it's going to be. And if we don't define it, we're going to have a problem moving forward.
Thank you, Mr. Gottoff. Anybody else on council have any questions? Ms. Rustick?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to say that I have repeatedly said throughout this process of budget review that we want to turn over every rock we can to see if there are ways to, save money for the future, as Councilmember Torgerson points out. And I appreciate her initiative in researching this and giving us a possible solution. So thank you for that.
Excellent. Anybody else? Brendan?
Yes, I appreciate all the effort and analysis that my colleague has put forward to it. And I am open to this type of action. However, I would like more information. I think this would be something to best take up after the December 2nd meeting, where we have more analysis, especially from staff. $600,000, I appreciate, is a value and rounding up, but maybe we could increase it. Maybe we can decrease it. I don't know. But I feel that just making that decision right now, I'm ill-equipped to do it, but I'm open towards the exploration of it.
Ms. Coleman?
I agree with Councilmember Elwood. I would like to say I have been in and out of poverty my whole life, and you don't just stop eating early because you don't know what's coming down the pipeline. So this is a forecast and it's probably accurate. But what I would like to say is we also don't know how voters are going to vote. This is a democracy. They might vote no. They might vote yes. We don't know, and we shouldn't assume beforehand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other council members I missed? Mr. Jocelyn.
Yeah, it's really important that we operate from a position of being informed and accurate and represent as best we can reality. I want to take a moment to acknowledge staff and Martin in particular for his incredible efforts in guiding us and regularly reporting us to council on the state of the city's finances, the different funds, and creatively seeking solutions to help move us forward. No one is predicting this city is going off a cliff. We've been given projections out years, and the reason we have those is because prior to Martin, we had sort of a, what's the analogy, merry-go-round of financial directors. We didn't have clear understanding and guidance. I've been on council only 4 years, but we're finally getting expertise and forward-looking financial insights from someone I highly respect, in addition to the rest of the staff. We've talked about this in work study. If we want to go back to a conversation about reducing service levels and laying off staff, that's a painful place to go. And if that needs to happen going forward, we need to have that conversation. But it isn't, the tool to use is not this body at this point rescinding $600,000 and saying deal with the consequences. That's silly and foolish, in my opinion, and would be an inappropriate action for this council to be taking at this time. We're having conversations here from the dais about fundamentally different interpretations of information we've been provided, experiences we've had, and conversations that have taken place in an inordinate amount of time, both from our city attorney and city staff, has been committed to answering council questions, presenting their view, and moving this city forward. And I don't find any of that subject to question, in my opinion. And I've paid as much. I have not sat on the finance committee, but believe me, I've been paying attention, and I, fundamentally object to some of the characterizations that have been offered from this dais this evening in terms of the situation the city is in and what the proper path forward is. And, I will take advice of trained counsel over advice received from MRSC and other cities' experiences, because I've asked repeatedly. I do not think we're being misled. I don't think the finances are being misrepresented. I think we have our work cut out for us going forward. There are solutions that we can find as a city. I also think budgeting and financing and tax levels are not the sole defining characteristic of us doing our job and creating for the residents of this city a quality of life that is suitable for what their expectations are. We have faced some headwinds due in part to rising costs. We had a 12, 13-year contract with Snoqualmie, and it was to the benefit of this city. We did get a bargain, especially later in that contract, in terms of the actual cost of police services. Last year, the police services were 25% of the general fund. Going forward, they're going to be 1/3 of the city's general fund. I don't think that what people want is fewer patrols on the streets of our city and less of a police presence. So I will not be voting in support of the motion on the floor. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Mr. Tremlott.
I would agree with Councilmember Elwood. I'm very open to this conversation. I don't feel great about making the decision, from the hip right now. I think we've had a lot of collaboration, work study. I think we can have further collaboration. So I think maybe this needs more work. I think there needs to be more tough questions to Council Member Torgerson's points. But I'll reiterate what I've said in work study, that I'm open to the conversation. I want to look and uncover every stone, like Councilmember Essex said. But my vision for the city is a vision that I've run on door to door on, is not to worry. I'm not worried about the budget for 2026. I'm looking at a budget over the next 5, 7, 10 years. And I think that's one of the mistakes the city has made over the last 20, 25 years, is that the budget has been looked at for tomorrow instead of for 5 or 10 years from now. We have piles of dirt that have been piles of dirt for 30 years. We have sidewalks that are not connected because of the approach that we've taken with how we invest in the city. And the investment part cannot be underscored hard enough for this town at this time in the future of where North Bend is going to be. I'm happy to be lean. I want to be efficient. I don't want to waste taxpayer monies, but I equally want to invest in the future. And that may not be cutting headcount. And I would argue every organization I've ever been in, when you think big and you think forward, you're very likely going to need more headcount, not less. So I want to be open. I want to be a team player. I want to have the hard conversations, but I want to set the tone for my vision for this city may be very different than some of the rest of you. And I'm willing and able to have that conversation, but I don't want to cut off our nose to spite our face, because I think the future is dynamic, incredible for this town. And it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot more investment. And that's frankly a bigger budget. But we can be smart, we can be efficient, and we shouldn't be wasting money. So I would agree with Councilmember Elwood. I think we need time to figure this out and probably not make that decision from this desk right now.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Torgerson.
So the reason why I just chose an arbitrary number is, being in Finance Committee over this whole year, I haven't really heard a place where we can cut, even though I have asked for that information. And so without that information of knowing where we could cut, I'm putting it out there that we do need to cut. And my thought was, if we were to say 600,000 and then it comes out of the general fund, then the staff can figure out where's the best place to cut. And I'm not saying employees, I'm saying there's got to be areas where they can clean it up and fix the budget. Maybe, I mean, here's an idea. Maybe I don't know if can be done, because I don't know if this is legal or not, but if we have budgeted all this extra funds for employees and we have extra money in there, instead of redirecting it back to the general fund, maybe we make a policy, we redirect that back into our police services, so we know that we can pay those bills in the future. My biggest concern right now is being able to pay for our big police bills that are coming down the pike, because the 4.8 million is going to be, the following year is going to be much bigger than that, and we haven't placed yet in any mechanisms for new revenue. We're working on that. Hopefully, we're going to have some great businesses that come in the future, and that's going to help us there. But we don't know. Those are big question marks right now. And so basically, I'm saying we need to stop the bleeding. I don't know how we stop the bleeding. I would, instead of me making the decision as to what we do, I would say, this is what I want, staff, and can you guys pick the right spots and where that bleeding is stopped? And that would be great. So anyways.
Brendan.
Your Honor, would you entertain a motion to amend the motion?
You certainly would.
What we do best too. I would like to, and thank you for helping me craft this on the fly. If there could be some assistance, I'd like to amend the motion to be put forward to the December 2nd meeting after the analysis and presentation. At that date. Table it to a date certain. Yeah. Would that be possible with this motion?
Yes, Councilmember Elwood, if you're asking to just table the entirety of the motion, you would, the proper motion is to postpone to the December 2nd regular council meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So that would, in effect, move this main motion to December 2nd.
Yep. That's what I'm looking to do. Okay, thank you. So I will put that motion, I'll amend I'll offer an amendment to the motion.
Second.
Second,
A point of order, it's not an amendment. If you're choosing to do this, my belief is you would make a motion to postpone to a date certain. You're not amending the motion that's been proposed.
Okay. Great.
Can we restate that, please? For the record. I'm sure it's
I'll
going to go
move my lip
smoothly.
as you recite.
I believe that Councilmember Elwood's intention is, it's a motion to postpone the motion to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance with staff to recall 600,000 from the 2026 appropriations within the general fund and redirect to the spending authority for police services.
Sounds great.
Exactly.
Okay.
Second.
I'm sorry, did I add the D? I'm sorry if I didn't.
No.
Thank you, Susie gave me the look, it cued me. But it's, so, and I'll defer to the mayor pro tem.
Okay, so I didn't catch who seconded that, by the way. Yeah, Mr. Tremolata, who made the motion? That's Brendan made the motion. And we need to speak. Would you like to speak to that motion one more time?
No.
Okay, good. Okay, Mr. Tremolata, it's your chance. All set. Okay. So the motion, the motion on the table is to postpone the motion to direct the city attorney to draft an ordinance with staff to recall 600,000 from the 2026 appropriations within the general fund and redirect to the spending authority for police services. All in favor?
Hang on.
Before you call for the vote,
Oh,
I
excuse
don't want
me.
to step in front of the mayor pro tem. Go ahead.
Well, it is subject to debate if I'm not incorrect. The
It
motion
is.
to postpone.
Okay, my apologies.
And that's to clarify to the December 2nd council. meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, it seems as though this is likely to pass. I just think it's the wrong way to go about doing business. I think it's demeaning of our staff and their guidance in the direction that we're headed. I think this is deserving of additional conversation. I just think it's a meat cleaver, you know. So I will not be voting to postpone. I'll leave it at that.
Anybody else? I think this is the finest time as ever to tell you all and the public how much I support our fantastic staff and I trust them. I stand by these words day in and day out. So it's very hard to hear the lashings, I'll call them lashings, at our fantastic staff. So I'm uncomfortable with this, I'll be honest. But council, at the end of the day, some of the decisions are on you and, you know, we all want to sleep at night. So I have faith that we're going in the right direction. I don't feel paranoid about the budget as some might. And we're scrubbing these funds pretty much daily. The $425,000 that you declare has not been on writing or in writing is in memos. It's in writing. And we can get the depth of where that came from. I can give you right down to the penny. If you'd like that, I'm happy to do that and prepared to. So going forward, if that's what you'd like, we can do that and happy to. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think anybody's specifically rating out the staff and believes the staff has been above the board, and this is not a personal attack on the staff. And I want to make that perfectly clear. We, as council members, have the right to review everything, and it is our job to review and be concerned and look at the budget. And I think the concern is that I believe that we need to take a look at the cuts now as part of the future. It has nothing to do with the staff. The staff has done a phenomenal job. I think Martin's done it on top. It's just we are doing our due diligence as council members and what we are elected to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad you can state that for the record. Appreciate it. Anybody else have anything else to say before we move on?
I will speak to that as well. This whole process for me as a new council member, often staff is offended because I'm asking questions, and I'm asking questions for my edification. I'm not trying to ask questions to say that you're not doing a good job. I'm doing it so I can learn. And when I find things that don't make sense, I'm going to still ask questions. And what I'm looking for is answers to clear it up for me, because obviously there must be pieces that I'm missing. And I'm not going to stop doing that. That's my job. And that's also my nature, is to understand how things work. I'm not trying to say anything negative about staff, but I'm also trying to protect our city at the same time. And I just want to say that I've always appreciated our staff. And so I don't think that the message that some people might think that we're saying is negative towards the staff. It's more, we're trying to be responsible council members and making sure that we're looking out for our citizens. Because there are a lot of concerns. There's a lot of people having struggles out there, and you say the word property tax and they're like, do not touch that. Don't touch it. Everybody I talk to in the community, do not raise my property taxes. So this is a big issue, and that we need to take it all seriously, and it's important for this body to look at that closer. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Are you ready to take that vote? Okay. Do I need to say the motion one more time for point of clarification? Okay. Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that's motion does pass 5-2. Thank you very much. Okay, where are we? I guess committee reports. I think we're at that point, aren't we? Commission committee reports. Okay,
Actually, I had another motion.
oh,
And
my apologies.
I would like to bring it forward actually to the December 2nd meeting, but it does have to do with the 2026 salary schedule. I think that like I've been saying, this 2026 salary schedule needs to come to council, and we need to have a conversation about it, and how it's put together. So I could go through and read all of my stuff here, or I can save this for.
Councilmember Torgensen, can I just clarify, because we offered to bring that already to December 2nd and made that amendment. So I don't think we need to go down a motion path if we've already going to bring it on the
Well,
2nd.
that's what I'm saying, is that this was one of my motions that I
Yeah.
had come up with, is to do this. And
Yes.
so I wanted just to say that I had intended to do that, and that I think it'd be great to talk about it at that meeting as well.
Yes, that's what we offered in Martin's presentation. So we'll be bringing that forward to on the 2nd, pulled apart. So we're not discussing bargaining unit.
We'll look forward to that in the December 2nd meeting. Yeah. Okay, commission and committee reports. Let's go on to Brennan at CED. Good evening and take it away.
Thank you, Your Honor. We had a very good, healthy discussion first today. The first item was the 230 Main Affordable Housing DDA. We've received a lot of feedback via email, as well as some testimony in the committee meeting today regarding parking and those types of concerns. And so we went through and thank you for James for leading us through this, a very detailed analysis of all the financial obligations, the planning, and to Northwest Development Company as well. And we had a very, I thought, healthy, informative conversation about this. Staff has prepared several options for us. It's clear that there's a lot of anticipating of possible future scenarios, and I feel that our team here is very well equipped to handle that and arm us with what we need to do and make a good decision when that time arises. Second topic was we discussed North Bend Way frontage improvements impact to businesses. Context around that is that there are some small businesses that can't afford to do street improvements. So we're going to dive into that probably next year to see how we can work a little bit better to get some better connectivity and sidewalks and so forth down North Bend Way. Tom Moore presented some options, and it was a pretty healthy, innovative, I think, creative discussion on how we could better do that. And thank you to Councilmember Tremolata for bringing that up on our agenda. And then we had a solid CED October 25th activity report. Our next meeting is December 16th. And just for those that want to just keep a back pocket reminder, it's the third Tuesday of every month. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to go on to Alan, Finance and Administration. Then, of course, we're going to go on to Eastside Fire and Rescue.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Don't mind.
I think I've still got it up on the screen. So the Finance Administration met Wednesday, November 12th, 2025 at the City Adjournment Room. We had a rousing discussion about designating the Snoqualmie Valley Record as a paper of record. Rousing and resolution canceling outdated checks. They're housekeeping. And then the final housekeeping, which is on tonight, is the ordinance of adopting the 2026 waste rates. And then some of the conversation that came up today was also discussed in the finance meeting. So we kept it going, I guess. So that's what we did at the finance meeting. Get to see most of the stuff. So I will start with the Eastside Fire and Rescue. Eastside Fire and Rescue met November 13th, 2025. At the headquarters in Newport. We had very few, quite a number of recognitions, can't speak in promotions. Battalion Chief Kurt McGowan got promoted. Captain Jake Cohen got promoted. Lieutenant Evan M. Escamilla got dubbed. I hope I'm not butchering that too bad. Lieutenant Cody Hotchkiss also got promoted. We were able to, staff report was talking about the finance agreement that we approved that is going to be financed through King County Fire District 10. We'll be financing our apparatus going forward in order for us to get the new apparatus we needed. We had an update on the interim agreement with King County Fire District 27, and that will be coming before the board on the next meeting. We also did a couple things that came after we came out. We approved the new chief's contract that will be signed, and he will be sworn in at our next meeting. We approved a new firefighter union contract. Highlights of that was we were able to put a cap and a minimum and a cap on the COLA. We were able to work with them to work out some ways to cut down overtime by getting a little bit more notice on retirements, which happens to help us increase ours. You knew in the past, the Eastside Fire and Rescue was very heavy weighted with older or longer term members. And for a while, we've been trying to work through that and a lot of retirements. So that'll be helpful. And incidentally, that passed the union with only 3 no votes, which was phenomenal. And then we also did the exiting fire chiefs employee review that same day. On his fire chief briefing, he talked about the fact that Chief Haho is in the midst of looking at candidates to replace another person retiring. Our director of administration will be retiring. And then talking about an operations chief vacancy that Chief Haho has been working diligently with the local to create an interim deputy chief opportunity for battalion group. This position provides a selected BC with the opportunity for career development and exploration of possible promotion opportunity. Chief Haho plans to conduct interviews with interested employees on November 25th. This is, as he moves up, we needed to replace the BC. We also had entry-level firefighter interviews. Interview completed eligibility of 18 candidates, 6 of whom have been moved forward in the hiring process. Staff is working on a pre-hire process for all 6 and hopes to issue final offers by December. This is another move in order to lower our overtime costs. The DNR came to us and wanted to work with Carnation Station 85 in putting up a fire danger messaging sign. So there will be a sign moved up there will denote what the fire danger is, and it'll be moved by the DNR on a regular basis to tell you whether the fire danger is high or not. Good news was we all are happy. The King County Medic 1 levy passed overwhelmingly, so that was really good. And if you get a chance, go look at the new website design for Eastside Fire and Rescue. And then to close it out, as we head into the holiday and Thanksgiving coming up next week, they are beginning to take donations for Toys for Tot. So if you've got any toys that you want to donate, the collection bin will be at the fire stations, the community center, along with, I know we've got the giving tree here too. So in the spirit of the holiday giving. So that's all I've got for you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Gottel. Ms. Rustic, Public Health and Safety.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I'd just like to add that one of the items that Councilmember Godhealth didn't mention from Eastside Fire and Rescue was a recognition of his longstanding involvement with that organization. And so he is to be commended for that. So anyway, he didn't mention that.
You want to make me blush tonight.
Ever humble. Thank you.
Yes.
Congratulations, Alan. That's fantastic. Yep.
So Public Health and Safety met on November 4th in the adjournment room. the community mental health support conversation will be moved to the December 2nd meeting. We did get a fire update, most of which was covered from Councilmember Godhealth. We had a police update where we looked at the monthly report calls for September and October and discussed some of the challenges at a couple of the local schools with threats. And then finally, we had a conversation which was on the consent agenda about the appointment of municipal court judge. And that was it. Our next meeting will be December 2nd. Thank you.
Fantastic. Ms. Colin, Transportation and Public Works.
Yes, Transportation and Public Works. We last met on October 28th at 4 o'clock here in our adjournment room. There were 9 items on our agenda, which is less than 10. Number 1, we had a monthly update on Meadowbrook Sewer ULID, which would be our wastewater treatment plant. Number 2, we had a resolution awarding construction contract with South Sound Fencing LLC for the wastewater treatment plant fencing project. Number 3, there was a resolution accepting infrastructure improvements for Harrison Court 2 and 58 Lot Division, which is the Tree Farm subdivision, which is a private development. Number 4, there was an amendment, number 2, to the water supply agreement with Salal. Number 5, there was a motion amending current on-call consultant contracts for engineering support. It was a housekeeping item. Number 6, there was a resolution awarding construction contract with Interwest Construction Incorporated for SR 202 Shared Use Trail Project. Number 7, there was a motion authorizing professional services contract with GNO for construction management and inspection services for this SR 202 Shared Use Trail Project. Number 8, there was a motion authorizing change order number 1 for the railroad crossing project. And number 9, we had a discussion on potential Ballarat Plaza project design changes. And that is the Get Her Done Committee. Our next meeting will be on December 23rd, unless it gets canceled. And then after that, it will be January 27th. Thank you.
Did it get moved? Did that get moved? The TPW movie? Is it December 16th? Can we have clarification on that?
Move to
Next-
December 15th,
Oh, excuse me, December 15th. So
Monday.
next
Thank you, Tom Moore.
TPW is
December
way to come
15th.
through, Tom. Thank you. Okay, great. Let's see, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Mark Dawson, Council Work Study, please.
The City Council held a work study on October 28th here at City Hall. It was following an open house that took place with consultants present for the 230 Main Affordable Housing Project. We got a general fund and fiscal sustainability and revenue presentation from Finance Director Chaw. And we also then had a conversation on the disposition and development agreement for the 230 Main Affordable Housing project by Related Northwest. If I'm not wrong, the next City Council work study will be held at the end of January. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you so much. Mr. Henderson, Planning, Parks, and Economic Development Commission reports, please.
Yes, good evening, Mayor and council members. The Planning Commission met on November 5 and held a public hearing and made recommendation of approval for the disposition and development agreement with Related Northwest for the 230 Main Affordable Housing Project. The Planning Commission also discussed updates to the city's sign regulations, which will continue at future meetings. The Planning Commission will next meet on December 3rd and will review and make recommendations on the dockets received from the public for the annual docketing process, as well as the Planning Commission 2026 work plan drafted by staff. The Planning Commission's 2026 work program and the 2026 docket recommendation will go to City Council for approval in January. The Parks Commission met on September 24 to discuss further scoping for a wayfinding signage program focused on bicycle and pedestrian routes, and for the potential for a pop-up dog park at the Dahlgren Family Park. The Parks Commission will next meet this Thursday, November 20th, and will review the draft 2025 Annual Parks Commission report to the City Council and the draft 2026 Parks Commission work plan, which will be presented to this council in January. They will also discuss planning for pedestrian and bicycle wayfinding signs, which will continue into 2026. And finally, the Economic Development Commission met on November 13th to begin discussion on their top 10 priorities for 2026 and how to spur more economic opportunity in North Bend. The commission's discussions focused on promoting outdoor recreation and the arts while preserving the community's history. The commission will next meet on December 18 to continue to develop their top 10 priorities.
Thank you, Mr. Henderson. We'll move on to regional reports. Anybody in council have anything to offer about anything going on? Brendan.
Thank you. Yeah, this is just kind of off the fly. I attended on Friday last week the what's it called? It was the utility. Let me get the official name here. Rate summit. Thank you. And it was interesting because I know there's other summits that are around the states happening, and this was our first one. And it was really good meeting. Over 100, I think the count was like about 150 elected officials and so forth throughout the regions were attended there. They had a really good panel, folks from PSE and a few other utilities, and they were articulating to us what the future state of the utility billing is going to be, and it's going up and it's increasing. And the charts that they were showing, I don't know how that's sustainable. And they were pointing out a lot of different items as to why the costs were going up. You know, you have tariffs, you have labor costs going up, construction costs going up, federal regulations rescinding money. I think the PSE gentleman mentioned that some of the subsidies that they get from the federal government to work on some of their infrastructure, 40% of that is funded by the feds. That's going to go away. And what they're anticipating is, of course, all of these costs are going to be coming down on homeowners and utilities. And this is going to happen across the regions, happening throughout the U.S., which is concerning, especially for those that live at a certain income level, that every penny counts on when it comes to their utility bill. It was a really good think tank. We had breakout sessions, and it was a really good experience for me, at least, communicating and listening to other folks in the region. I don't know when the next one is going to be, but I thought it was a beneficial one. So I thank the executive director, the interim executive director, for really pushing this forward, Shannon Braddock. So that was really good. So more to come on that. Definitely influenced my thinking. I'm still processing all the information, especially as we get into our own utility rate study coming up here soon. I imagine more conversation at least coming from me as I think about this a little bit more deeply. Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan. Anybody else from council? Mark.
The Sound Cities Association Public Issues Committee met on November 12th. Virtually, the topics discussed included the Sound Cities Association 2026 State Legislative Agenda and County Priorities. There was a briefing presented on transit safety and security. There was a briefing presented on unapproved food vendors. It's amazing what you learn and gain insight on. I had no idea it was such a ongoing problem. And of course, it does touch on public health and safety. Then there was a conversation about the Puget Sound Regional Council committee restructuring. And as one of the smaller cities, it is an important forum in which one can raise a voice and say, well, that doesn't make much sense if larger cities receive more representation. And so that's going to play out over time. The Public Issues Committee will next meet December 10th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else I might have missed? No? Okay, can we move on to the main agenda? Everybody ready? Item number 8, AB 25-127, public hearing continued, ordinance setting 2026 property tax levy. Mr. Chaw, there you are. Please provide the staff report when you're ready. And thank you.
Thanks, Mayor.
Welcome.
Okay, thanks, Mayor. For the record, Martin Shaw, Finance Director, City of North Bend. Before you tonight is a ordinance adopting the 2026 property tax levy. This was heard in public hearing at our last meeting. Tonight's purpose is to finalize the public hearing process and adopt. So for the listening public, this is the ordinance that's required by the Washington State, by the King County Auditor to establish the property taxes for the following year. For the 2026 property tax levy, what we're looking at is a regular operating levy of 2.6 million and an excess levy for payment of the fire station bonds that were issued in 2011 of 150,000. It's important to remember that the 2.6 million council includes the 1% increase that's allowed under state law. And that 1% increase equates to $25,000. And that would be the increase from 2025 to 2026. The policy decision before you is at the bottom of this slide is whether to increase or whether to adopt the ordinance setting property taxes with the 1% increase or without the 1% increase. And that difference for the city is $25,000. For the average homeowner, that difference equates to 1 penny per $1,000 of assessed value. Let me talk about the 1% increase a little bit further. I frequently get questions about this from council as well as from residents. So the 1% increase, as I mentioned, equates to on a $1 million home about $10 a year. So less than $1 a month. For the city of North Bend, that 1% increase equates to $25,000. By not taking the 1% increase, this would represent a permanent loss to the city's taxing capacity, and that loss would compound each year. So let me give you an example, and this is important because I want to emphasize this for you council as well as for the listening public. So for example, we did not take the 1% increase for 2026. What that would mean then is in 2027, when I come back to you to establish the property taxes for 2027, the property taxes for 2027 would be based on the levy from 2025. And then if we did not take the 1% increase in 2027 for 2028, then the property tax for 2028 would still be based on the 2025 levy. So that's an important distinction to make. And the reason why I emphasize that is with all the discussion about payment for police services, the need for additional revenue, this not taking the 1% would just make the city's job that much more difficult to fund public safety services. This next slide, slide 3, illustrates the 2025 levy rates for all cities in King County. The reason why we're using 2025 levy rates is obviously the 2026 levy rates have not yet been established. And that's the purpose of this ordinance tonight. And each of these different jurisdictions are going through this exact same process. The 2025 levy rate, council members, as you can see, is in orange at 89 cents per thousand. With a 1% increase and with the preliminary assessed value for the city in 2026, our levy rate will fall to 80 cents per thousand. And that's shown in the orange with hash mark. And again, if you do not take the 1%, then that 80 cents becomes 79 cents. The 80 cent in 2026, that compares to, as you can see in light blue, I selected several surrounding communities. City of Issaquah, 71 cents per thousand, Duval at 99 cents, City of Skykomish at $1.08, City of Black Diamond at $1.33, and the City of Snoqualmie at $1.73. And again, for these other jurisdictions, the rate shown is for 2025. In terms of what this means for the average property tax owner, and this would be informative for Robin, who testified earlier. I was probably the guy who presented this early in the month. So where does the property tax monies go? This is an actual example for a home in Maloney Grove. This home is built in 2023. It's 3,600 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 3.25 bath, with an assessed value of $1.378 million. In 2025, the property tax bill for this home is $12,298. And as you can see in the pie graph, that's distributed amongst several different jurisdictions. The city of North Bend's share is 10%. So the 1% share, or the 1% increase in property taxes for this particular home would be worth about $11, or $11.86 to be specific. Okay. In answer to Robin's question earlier about her $400 increase, likely that is not due to the city of North Bend.
Formula didn't stay too.
It is due to, likely due to county, the school district, state, or the other taxing districts, which includes the port, hospital, library, EMS, or Skyview Parks. Another example, this is a home in the Wood River subdivision. This home is built in 1997, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,500 square feet, $1.1 million in terms of taxable value. 2025 bill is $10,246. And again, you can see the distribution of the property tax bill in 2025 for this home. And again, the city share is 10%. The 1 penny increase that we're looking at for the assessed value, in this case for this home, would be $9.89, again for the year. That concludes my presentation. I want to just go over the details with you, particularly as it relates to the 1% increase and what that means. And again, the policy decision for the council is adoption of the ordinance with or without the 1% increase.
Mr. Shaw, Mr. Creighton,
Just a clarifying question. Could you go back to the slide of the bar chart of our neighbors? This one. And I don't know, it's always so difficult. There's this underlying belief, because across most of the country, it's true that one's assessed value of their property is directly tied to what they pay. But in this state, that's not true. This city makes a request to the auditor, and the auditor takes whatever amount the city's asked for and spreads it across the assessed value of the city to come up with what I will pay in property taxes and everyone else here. This is such an interesting graph. Even if we take the 1% or not, the 89 cents per thousand is likely to go down to 80 cents per thousand of assessed value because of, in part, the increased assessed valuation of the city as a whole. Is that, I mean, can you try and disentangle this notion between raising assessed values and how that doesn't always equate to increases in what you pay in taxes?
Great. Thank you for that question. That's actually a question I've received quite a bit. And it's been cited many times, Councilman, that Washington State has one of the most complex property tax laws in the nation. And this is an example why. So across the nation, there are 2 methods, and I explained this in an earlier works study session with council. There are 2 methods of establishing property taxes in the nation. One method is the rate-based method. And the rate-based method is the method that's used in for the state of Oregon. And what that entails is the jurisdiction specifies the rate, the property tax rate, and then that rate then is assessed against or applied against the assessed value in the following year for the property. And that determines the property tax payment for that particular property. In Washington State, the property tax system is called a budget-based system. So jurisdictions establish the budget. They file an ordinance, which is what's before you tonight. citing to the assessor what is our budget for the following year. That budget serves as the numerator, and the denominator then is the assessed value for the city. And doing that calculation then determines the levy rate for the following year. The reason why the rate drops is simple mathematics, in that the assessed value for the city is increasing faster than 1%, which is the increase that we're looking at under state law.
Two more questions. And these monies go to the general fund only. Is that correct?
It goes to two funds within the city. One, the main fund is the general fund, and the gosh, I forget the other one. Council.
That's all right. And
very small.
Generally speaking, I could have warned you ahead of time. And what percentage of the city's overall budget is supported by the general fund?
It is about 15%.
So we're talking, right. This whole conversation about property tax and property tax levies applies to 15% of the city's overall budget to begin with, more or less.
It would be even less than that. This property taxes serves as only one of 5 primary sources for the general fund, and sales taxes actually represents the largest share. Property taxes is number 2.
Thank you, Director.
Council, any more? Mr. Gott?
Thank you. Can you explain to us and the public in here the bank capacity? And then I believe the other portion you were talking about that would be funded would be the fire station bonds?
Sure.
Yeah.
So let me start with the fire station bonds. This is the fire station that's constructed out here in Cedar Falls Way, just behind City Hall here. These were bonds that were issued in 2011, Councilman, as you probably recall.
Yep.
These were bonds that were shared with the district for the construction of that fire station. This excess levy, which was approved by voters in 2011, is for the payment of debt service that financed the construction of that facility.
Those were voted bonds, right?
Those were voted bonds, correct.
That's what I want to clarify. And then the bank capacity.
And the bank capacity is if a city does not take the 1%, the 1% then becomes either foregone completely or is banked. And in other words, if it's banked, then the organization has the ability to tap into that bank at a subsequent in a subsequent year for property taxes. So, for example, Councilwoman Rustic, I can see I can anticipate your question. What this means is, for example, the $25,000 that we're requesting as the 1%, if that's not taken, then that's banked. Okay. So then in 2026, when we're establishing the property tax levy for 2027, we would increase, we would need to make 2 decisions. The first one is, do we increase the property tax levy from 2025 by 1%? So in other words, it's the capturing that 1% increase. And then number 2, do we go back and recapture the 25,000 that was not taken in 2026? Now, for the record, if this council chooses to not take the 1% this year and wishes to bank that increase, I would need to modify the ordinance for you, as the ordinance that I have before you for the 0% increase does not include specific language to bank that capacity. So if it's this council's desire to bank that capacity, I need to modify the ordinance for you so that includes specific direction to the King County assessor to bank that capacity. Otherwise, it's forgone.
Any other clarifying questions? Ms. Westmore.
You did an excellent job anticipating my question, and I do appreciate that. I have one more question, and that's the chart, the other chart that you had here then says the effect of not taking the 1% increase. That means if you don't modify the second option on this, then that is true. Correct? I'm just clarifying.
Correct. There are two ordinances in the packet. There's option 1 and option 2.
Okay.
The one that's labeled option 1 includes the 1%. The one labeled option 2 does not take the 1%.
Okay.
But you also need to, but I want to emphasize, I also need direction from you. If you don't take the 1%, do you want me to bank it? And if it's the latter, then I need to prepare an updated ordinance for you.
That was, sorry, may I have one more follow-up?
You may.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You put together a number of scenarios for us about a month ago about our long-term budget. In those, and I was looking for it, but you assumed that we would approve this. Is that correct? That we would approve the 1%?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay.
Can I ask a clarifying before on Councilmember Rustick?
You may.
That question that she asked about, would the lines in the blue still be with the bank capacity? Is that true for every one of those? So like the compounding piece. So I just want to make sure that we're clear on that before we move on, that still applies if we do the direction for the bank capacity.
That's correct.
Thank you. Any more clarifying questions? Brendan?
Maybe just, thank you, Martin. That was a great presentation. Maybe just a historical snapshot as to what the city has done in years past. There have been years where we've taken the 1%, years we have not. And in some of those years, I recall us earmarking them to be monies used for specific things in the community, affordable housing, for example. So that's still within the purview of this council, is that if we decide to take the 1%, we can earmark it to something in the community that matters. Would that be correct?
That's correct.
And that would be something that we'd have to do in a motion. And then would you agree with just kind of my layman's sense about the compounding piece when you're talking about it going backwards? I also see the power in taking the 1% as it's a gradual increase because it's based on the next time you take it is based on the last time you took it. So you actually are growing small amounts, incremental growth of this revenue over time.
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else from council I might have missed? Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Appreciate your efforts. The public hearing on this item was opened at the October 21st City Council meeting and continued to tonight's meeting. If any members of the audience would like to comment during the public hearing, we would invite you to come forward to the podium at this time. Hi, Rob. Just kidding. If you have requested accommodation with the city clerk and wish to speak, please raise your hand through the virtual platform and you will take comments after in-person comments, excuse me. Please remember to state your name, your address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anyone online?
Not at this time.
Okay, very well. Okay, we're going to strike that gavel. Public hearing on the ordinance setting the 2026 property tax levy is now closed. Councilmember Gottelf, will you please make the motion?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Motion to approve AB 25-127. It's ordinance adopting the 2026 regular property tax levy with a 1% increase as set forth in option number 1 as a final reading.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Mr. Gottelf and second by Mr. Jocelyn. Mr. Gottelf, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I would. Since this is going to be my last time speaking to this type of a motion, most people know I am not in favor of taking the property tax levy and have been. I think it's one of those things that is very onerous on our property taxes. And also we keep trying to talk about affordable housing and we keep adding on to property tax. Now, that's kind of silly because at the same time you take a look at the small percentage we do get as a city, it's not a lot. But really from the standpoint, at some point, the way we do this is ludicrous and won't help. We see houses going up to $1 million. I will say that the majority of a lot of people didn't probably buy when it was at $1 million and were paying a lot less. And if they paid off their houses, they were hoping to be able to live in their houses while they were on fixed incomes. And now they're being struggled with right now a 10%, probably for average $10,000 a year. That's a pretty substantial amount if you were looking for it to save money. So I will not be supporting it as usual. But since I know the rest of the council has a different opinion, I had to make the motion. And since it's my last time to pontificate and talk about it, I just did. Thank you.
Very good, Mr. Jocelyn.
Thank you, Alan. That was really quite lovely. Yeah, Washington State's a funny spot, and the revenue sources available to this city are rather limited, and this is one of them. And it's about a fraction of the city's budget, and the way we go about raising revenue, the need for revenue is not going to go down as this city continues to grow, as envisioned certainly by myself. I've been impressed with us as a council as we continue, I think, to seek as many levers as we can pull to try and keep the place that we live on the rails with the quality of life that we expect. And as I believe you're well aware, that I believe exceptional staff that work here, and retention matters. I spoke earlier to, police services increasing from 25 to 1/3 of the city's general fund. Fire services have gone up, and so on and so forth. I will certainly be voting in support of this. And I want to reiterate what Martin brought to our attention, the compounding effect of this. I have a personal experience where I worked for the Washington State Department of Transportation in 1985. I lost track of about $1,500 worth of income. And thank goodness that by the time I retired, I came across a piece of paper, called them up, and long story short, I had $16,000 that I received because of a $1,500 investment I'd made in a retirement. I mean, I wasn't even unaware. I was a young person. It's hard to know how retirement's going to play out. But that's comes to mind in situations like this. Not taking $25,000 in income will compound out. 5 years from now, that's a position, a staff position. And yes, it's coming out of property taxes, but we are so limited in revenue streams available to us. Living in my home that I'm lucky to live in, it's going to cost me $1 a month or less. And I'm willing to pay that, as much as I don't like to. I know we all suffer tax fatigue, but that is in part due to, as every government, so many government agencies face just real limited means in which they can go about raising revenues. And so, again, I will be voting in support. Thanks.
Mr. Jocelyn, any other council members wish to comment? Brendan.
Yeah, I appreciate all of our debates in years past, Alan. We've kind of mellowed out over the last couple of years, which is good. I'll be supporting this, and my philosophy is really based on the questions that I just asked Martin. I too agree that the compounding effect of a small incremental fee such as this, a tax such as this, is of benefit. And it's a lot easier to swallow than a big hit to a household. And I do understand the affordability piece, and I brought that up because in years past, we have designated the monies to be used for affordable housing and other, I think maybe sidewalks was another year, if I recall. So those are creative ways that we can use this money. It's very small change, quite frankly, in the grand scheme of things. And I do understand the incremental hit to households, the holistic point of view of what, the share of wallet or the spend of wallet for most residents. But in this particular instance, with this particular tool that's available to us, that small incremental growth matters. And I will be supporting this, and I think it's the right step forward. Thank you. I put that out there. That's a good point.
Certainly.
are we able to direct these funds towards the police contract? And would you be willing to entertain that?
You can make the motion.
You can make that a motion. Yeah.
Okay.
You can add to the motion.
Okay. Yes. Yes, I would like to add to the motion that if approved, the 1% increase is set forth to earmark for public, for the police contract, public safety.
My belief, you're moving an amendment to the motion, and then we'll have a conversation focused on the amendment and on the amendment, which if passes, then we'll go back to voting on the main motion.
Move it first and then we'll. Any other council comments before we move to the final motion? No?
I'll second it.
Wait.
Well, that's right on the amendment. Now we're on the amendment.
We needed a second as well, so Alan seconded the motion.
Okay, so we got the motion, the amended motion to the AB 20, okay. And Alan, you seconded, wait, who seconded that? Okay, Mark.
Just a question for the finance director. How much of a burden is it to track a $25,000 to an action like this? Is that a significant burden on staff?
No, it's no burden at all.
Thank you, Director.
Okay.
Follow up on that. If we earmark this 1%, that doesn't set precedent for next year's decision, just for this amount.
Correct.
Okay, so just for point of clarity, how are we gonna, what's the statement of that motion just for total?
You would take a vote on the amendment as proposed.
Okay, and we'll just be doing that right now. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, try that again. I think I counted 4. Can we have the noes? 1,
No.
2. Okay, 5-2, that passes. Thank you very much. Okay.
Mayor,
Okay, now we're,
Mayor,
yeah,
did you clarify the second no vote?
I think
I
that
got
was.
Councilmember
I
Jocelyn.
I thought I heard you, Mr. Jocelyn. Okay.
That's
Yes.
right.
Amendment.
Okay.
Talk more about where this money could go.
Okay, so
Okay.
so now I'm counting 3.
Point of information. Should we have had more discussion before actually taking the call on that?
We
Because you would have had the
Can we
opportunity to say that.
dial this back now.
You don't.
Yeah.
We're back. What I believe is before us is the main motion as amended. We now have before us as a body a motion to accept the property tax increase with the 1% and directing it towards police services. If someone wants to, I don't know if there's a path forward to change how that's been directed or not.
Yep, we can take comment on that. Council have any comments to make?
Hi. Thank you, Mayor.
We'll get to it.
I don't hate the idea of this money going to the police contract. I just wish we had another minute to have what are our other options. And so I felt cornered into this police contract. I don't hate it, but I wanted more options.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Next year, we'll vote on this again. So you have 365 days to figure out another place to allocate the money.
I'll have to make a motion to announce.
Okay.
Back to the main motion.
Yes.
Main motion, before,
Comments.
still having comments for the main motion. Anybody else? We're all good?
We're good with that. We need to take a vote for it.
Okay. Okay, let's see, ask, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I had that wrong.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much.
So can you clarify, please? Did we vote in favor of the money towards?
Yes.
Yes.
We did.
Thank
Correct.
you.
Mhm.
Excuse me for that. Thank you very much. And the vote number was 5-2. Am I correct in that?
No, it's unanimous.
The amendment
Well,
was
no,
5
before
to
that.
2.
Oh,
Yes.
Yeah.
the amendment.
Amendment was 5 to 2.
5-2.
Yeah.
Okay, we're all clear.
And then Alan surprised everybody for the second vote. Yep.
Okay, we're a little bit after 9. We're all hanging in. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we're going to move on to item number 9, AB 25.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to AB 25-128, ordinance amending the taxes, rates, and fees schedule regarding solid waste and recycling rates. Mr. Moore, good evening. We'd like to hear your report.
Thank you, Mayor. On April 4th, 2023, City Council approved a contract with Ecology for solid waste and recycling collection services effective April 1st, 2024, March 31st, 2036. The contract between the city and Ecology specifies an annual rate adjustment to the collection service charge component of the contracted rates to take place annually on January 1st based upon Consumer Price Index or CPI. The attached ordinance adjusts the contractor's collection service change effective January 1st based on the CPI for the 12-month period ending June 30th, 2025, as required under the contract. On the agenda bill, you'll see that CPI rate for this period is 2.715%, and that was verified by our finance team as well. The contract also specifies an annual rate adjustment to the disposal fee component of the contracted rates based on the charges assessed to King County, which is based on an annual tonnage collected by the haulers in King County. The rate for that increase was just under 8%, as you can see on the agenda bill as well. If you look on page 68 of the packet, a real world example of this, there's a 32-gallon waste container for a single family residential. The cost for that would now be $58.70, which is an increase of $2.19 from the current rate of $56.51. Changes in the solid waste and recycling rates will be reflected in the taxes, rates, and fees schedule upon adoption of this ordinance. The F&A committee reviewed this item last week. I'm happy to answer any questions council might have.
Mr. Moore, Mr. Tremolata.
Can you just clarify the fixed annual charge for King County is outside of this body's control? That's coming from the county. It's built in the contract, but that would be built in with any hauler, not this hauler, right? It's a part of the process.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Jocelyn.
A related question. If this city threw away less trash, would the cost to the city of that disposal fee to King County go down?
Yeah, so the disposal fee is the total tonnage they collect annually.
Yeah, so it's the rate is beyond our control.
Yeah.
However, the amount of waste that we as a community generate is within our control.
So the number would go down and it would be proportionate to all the entities involved with Ecology.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Ms. Rustic.
And as I asked you earlier, this is a contractual obligation. So if the council does not approve the increase, the city would likely face a lawsuit based on breach of contract. So essentially, our hands are tied. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yes.
Anybody else have any questions? No questions? All righty. What's that? Mr. Gottel. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna make the waste motion.
Sure. Thank you for that.
I cleaned that up for what I wanted to say. Motion to approve AB-25-128, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates effective January 1st, 2026, and amending the taxes, rates, fees, and schedules as the first and final reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Mr. Gottel, second by Ms. Torgerson. Mr. Gottel, do you have a comment to your motion?
Yeah, I think a lot of cities are waking up to the reality of the cost of waste. Recently, there's been a lot of articles talking about similar increases. I know our residents didn't like when we made the change and thought that was the reason. Unfortunately, we have one way of recycling our waste or one way of dumping our waste. King County has not looked at other alternative ways of it, which would reduce our cost over the future, like some of the nice options we have in Europe of burning it, like, you know, without pollution. It's pretty high. So get used to it. It's going to go up and continue because the cost of landfills are going up. So sorry to say that, but it is administrative and we have no choice.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Torgerson, do you have any comment to make?
Yeah, it's a contractual obligation, and so it's just natural we have to vote for this and vote it in. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you very much. Any other council members wish to comment? No, seeing none. Okay, the motion before us is to approve AB 25-128, an ordinance increasing the solid waste and recycling rates effective January 1, 2026, and amending the tax rates and fees schedule as a first and final reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we've got that. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. That just about comes to the end of our agenda, and we're going to move on to Mayor, Council, Administrative Concerns and Initiatives. Brendan, would you like to take us away tonight? Please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sorry, I
Thank
thought
you.
we were talking about another item there.
No.
We removed that at the top. Yep, sorry. Okay, so let's see. Concerns. I had two. First of all, it's getting dark out there, and I wanted to, as I was driving through my neighborhood, which is very dark, there was a mom walking their kid, and her little flashlight wasn't quite enough, but thankfully she had put a glowing LED kind of necklace collar thing around the kid. So I was able to see that, and it just, I'm like, oh, I'm going to city council, so I should just remind people that it is dark. There was no near misses or anything. I saw them from a ways off, and I actually rolled down my window, and I was like, hey, love the green light, it worked. So I just want to pass that on. The other thing too is that I heard on the news there's going to high wind advisory the next couple of days, so that's important. I know when that happens and I take my trash out or whatever, I'm always staring up at my trees because I don't want to get hit by a tree branch. So think on that. And then just the utility rate summit was really impactful, and I'm trying to get more information from some of those folks because I think it'll be beneficial for some of the work that we're going to do down the road. So thank you.
Brendan, Susan.
Nothing at this time.
Thank you very much. Heather.
I was very excited to see that Fury had filled in the sidewalk that leads to Dahlgren. And so hopefully it dries because it's still a little cold and rainy out, but they did it. It's very exciting. It's going to be great.
Errol.
I'd like to congratulate Councilmember Jocelyn for getting reelected, although not certified. I have enjoyed working with him and look forward to another 4 years of working with you.
Wonderful. Ms. Rustig.
Yes, thank you. Earlier today, the city hosted interviews for the police chief for King County. And I just want to thank all of the public for showing up for both the open house on Monday and many of our public and other volunteers who helped with the interviews. There were 3 separate panels, and we had a very successful event. And I know any of the candidates will definitely make a great chief for our city going forward. And I just wanted to share the patches for the public here that have been designed to show the police for the city of North Bend. So we're looking forward to that in April. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Ellen.
Well, thank you. Well, since you mentioned somebody else getting elected, you did get elected to not certified too. So I thought I would mention that too. Glad that I know they really help. I just wonder how many write-ins, but and who wrote in, but we won't get into that detail. Thank you for taking my, public safety comments up ahead. And yes, it is getting dark. Also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, as we won't be back at this dais until next month, moving forward. And then I want to reiterate the conversation that we had this beginning of this has nothing to do to say our staff is not good. It has to do with us doing the due diligence of council members and understanding that we have a tough future And we asked all of our partners, including East Side Fire and Rescue, and we went and looked out for a fire contract. We asked everyone to take a look at their environment and their whole staff and decide whether we have the right amount or if we can do something to reduce it. I think it's not inconceivable that we need to look at that. And any type of raises or anything we're looking at when we're also trying to negotiate contracts make it even tougher for us, and will. We are negotiating a contract right now. The East Side Fire and Rescue has still got one other contract for their administrative. And by showing increases when you've told them you can't give them any more money, just doesn't look good. So that's my closing. I want to say staff's wonderful. They deserve everything they get, but this is about doing the right thing for this city. Thank you.
Mr. Jocelyn.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you, Alan. I take to heart your conversations about staff. Our mandate as a council, our fiduciary responsibility is primary. Budgetary matters are well within our purview. When conversations start tending towards a lack of trust in the advice or the responses to inquiries that are provided, then we are bumping up against a line that does cause me some heartburn, and I think we want to be mindful that we not go that direction. I want to call out the sidewalk project, particularly at the Ranger Station and Thrasher Avenue, which looks the way it always should have looked. If you drive by, apart from the fact it's a little new and shiny, the fact that it always used to be just a big asphalt lot and you didn't know if you pulled in or where the right turn was or how to get out of there, it's spectacular. And so I want to acknowledge, the ongoing sidewalk replacement project is something we can all be proud of and share, taking, I believe, credit for. Of course, it wouldn't happen again without the fine work and efforts of the staff. I want to reiterate Council Member Rustick's comments about the police services. I was pleased to be able to participate on a panel. The candidates were all worthy. I thought Council Member Tremolata nailed it in our panel when he said, well, if you can put the three of them together, you'd have one heck of a police chief. Just by way of saying they brought different strengths and weaknesses and combinations to their presentations. The willingness of members of the community to take most of a day to participate is remarkable. But I also had a moment as a council member of, we all did that. That was a unanimous vote to head in that direction. Huge support from staff again to get us there, but it's a big deal. This city is going to have its own police chief under the auspices of the King County Sheriff's Office. And we already had those conversations with the candidates. That was some of what they were questioning about. How do you thread that needle of having more than one master, so to speak? But I want to take a minute and reflect on that and headed down that path. And it is very exciting, and it's going to take a minute, but you can see it. And so thanks, everybody. That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor. So I just want to say thank you to Jen Kirk, who's the executive director at Reclaim. I had a lovely tour of the facility last week and was seeing the amazing work that they do in the Valley for us and being able to connect folks with services. So I just want to say to the public that's listening, 425-389-7114 is their phone number. They're always happy to connect with services. I know in talking with Jen, a lot of folks in our community are on that tipping point of houselessness. They just need a few resources to get over some struggles that they may be having. So I would encourage, also can contact us here at the city and we can connect you with Jen and the resources that there are. And then the second comment I want to say is to Councilmember Galtoff for talking about the staffing piece. I have never in my professional career, and I've been in a lot of organizations, worked with the esteemed colleagues that I have in the last 4 months that I've been here. I've said this numerous times to Martin. If I could have had him when I was managing a $540 million budget, I would have stolen him every point that I could. So I would just say thank you for all the comments tonight, but I just want to let you all know that we work weekends, we work nights, we work long hours, we work away from our family, we work tirelessly together to deliver services for our residents. So when we talk about, there's these two, we're a team, we work together to deliver these pieces, and I fully anticipate that we'll have these really great, robust conversations that many of us have had in the last 2 weeks to continue moving us forward. And we have difficult conversations, as Councilmember said earlier, but I think that we have the right people to do so. But I just want to call out to the amazing team that I work with and colleagues that I hold very dear in my short 4 months being here. And I have never worked with a better staff. And I'm looking to Susie as well, thinking how much we all put in a daily basis. So I just want to say I'm grateful to be part of this colleague group that I call up here.
Well, I'm grateful for all of you, so thank you so much. Thank you for that. Okay, join me for a meetup with the mayor. That's, well, pretty within hours tomorrow morning. Hope someone shows up other than myself. We always do. Anyway, it's going to be fun. It's a time to come and chat with me. I'll be at Heartwood Cafe, of course, on the 19th from 9 to 10 a.m. Come if you have any questions or call me. Just come. Please consider donating to the Snoqualmie Valley Food Bank and check out their website for ways to support them. Snoqualmie Valley Food Bank provides nutritious food and key resources to individuals and families across North Bend, Snoqualmie, and surrounding areas. They are dedicated to building a stronger and more equitable community, and Food Bank strives to serve every neighbor with dignity, compassion, and care. The North Bend Library will be the site of the very first Friends of the North Bend Library Holiday Bazaar. Stop by 11 o'clock to 6 p.m. on Saturday, November 22nd. Shop local with proceeds benefiting programming offered by the North Bend Library. City offices will be closed next Thursday and Friday, November 27th and 28th, in observance of Thanksgiving holiday. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Council, remember that we will be canceling the work study on November 25th. And as mentioned multiple times tonight, we had a wonderful interview process today. I'm very proud of all the effort. All three candidates are terrific, and all the individuals that were handpicked to be part of the process. I can't thank you enough. So it was a great thing to be a part of myself. And stay tuned. I'll have a decision coming pretty soon.
Mayor, can I add one thing? Just a special call out for Erin DeBerg. She's put 3 of these together. Mine, the East Side Fire Rescue, and also this one today. She does so much work and comes in on the weekend to get this organized for us. I just want to give her a special shout out that she did such an amazing job.
And that was my
again.
next little statement was Erin DeBerg.
Sorry to still up.
No, there's no star. Sorry. Erin DeBerg is a rock star. I just wanted to thank her again for all of her efforts to put this and the prior, which got us you. So it's a great process and very exciting, like I said. Other than that, we had a busy day, and I also, before coming to this meeting, had a ribbon cutting at Snoqualmie Health North Bend Clinic. It's located in the former Chase building or bank building right by Safeway. You guys know where that is, right? That sat empty since prior to COVID, long time, right? So it's wonderful to step through those doors. It's a very classy place, very artsy, just top notch. And there's 4 phenomenal physicians there waiting to help you and help your needs. So that's exciting. So way to go, everybody. Thanks for a very terrific meeting. Lots to comment about. And I would like to entertain an adjournment at this point.
So moved.
Okay. Any second? Okay, thank you so much. And we are adjourning at 9:25, I think. Good night, everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.